Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to tell you what the WWE locker room really thinks of Stephanie McMahon.
A new tag team forms on Monday Night Raw.
Got an injury update from Big E, who's going to be out for at least a year.
And could we get a collaboration between WWE and AEW? I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
We're going to kick things off by covering some recent Fightful Select reports on Stephanie McMahon, because I think it's quite interesting on her, how well she's being received behind the scenes in the company in general. Of course, she is currently the interim chairwoman and CEO following Vince McMahon stepping down. He's under investigation by the board of directors, $3 million in alleged hush money. You know the drill. And Stephanie, quite a remarkable turnaround for her, given that she'd announced a hiatus from WWE, and there were reports suggesting that maybe she wasn't going to return. Well, she did return in a quite spectacular way. Stephanie McMahon is universally adored backstage.
Is she?
Among the wrestlers in WWE, which I think is, well, I'll just go over the reports here.
The polar opposite of the WhatCulture office.
So the first part of this kind of comes from Fightful Select had the report that we covered yesterday on the backstage meeting that Stephanie, Triple H and Nick Khan held prior to Money in the Bank. In that report, they noted that all three of these executives are generally quite well liked, but this is particularly true of Stephanie. She enjoys outright adoration from the locker room in general. Now, a few weeks ago, when Fightful was reporting on the Stephanie Vince changeover thing, when I was on holiday, all that stuff happened.
Yes.
I've come back, everything's quiet now. Coincidence? I think not. But they were talking a little bit here. They got some interesting comments from some wrestlers. One of them said that they'd heard in theory that Stephanie McMahon is their boss, and that effing rules.
Wow.
More just kind of talking about how everyone has a generally positive opinion about her. One predicted that Vince would eventually return and that maybe long-term changes might not be forthcoming, which I think is a very fair point of view. Why Vince is never going away, he's a cockroach.
Yes.
A cockroach, that's not very flattering, but you know. Anyway,
fair assessment.
But they stated that they loved Stephanie. Elsewhere, a female wrestler said that the investigation into Vince and Stephanie's ascension, whoa, my mouth stopped working there, meant that things could only get better in the company. I think it's pretty interesting to consider this, because what you see as a wrestling fan often of Stephanie McMahon is the on-air character, and the on-air character for a long time was a burial artist.
Yes.
Slapping people in the face, brutally destroying them on the microphone, never really getting any comeuppance, apart from on the odd occasion, like the Ronda Rousey match, for example.
Basically at WrestleMania.
Yeah, which was sensational. So when you see only their online persona, I think it's quite natural for people who maybe don't dig into the weeds of the backstage stuff to assume that, hey, this is what they're like. She is choosing to bury people because everyone hates her and she's bad. Not the case.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think anyone following the footsteps of Vince McMahon is probably going to be like, hey, Steph, you get less bad because you're following in the steps of Vince McMahon. But yeah, I'm excited, to be honest, to see where things go. And it's just nice for once to be talking about backstage morale in WWE and have something positive to say. And it does seem to be bleeding through, I've got to say, into WWE programming. People seem to be really enjoying what they're doing right now, whether it be, title matches or storylines or whatever it may be. There does seem to be this sense of togetherness, and that may well be the justification behind it.
Yeah, and we'll see how long she's in the job for. The investigation is obviously still ongoing. I think as wrestling fans, like I said earlier, we have a natural cynicism when it comes to like high level change and things like Vince and whatever terrible things have happened. Would never undermine them at all, but you know how things work in WWE. So we'll see how that investigation goes. We'll see what the future holds. But yeah, good to know that Stephanie is quite well liked.
Exactly.
Very well liked.
Indeed.
In her.
Right, let's talk about last night's Monday Night Raw, because there was a new tag team that formed on the show. The Miz and, not Tommaso, just Ciampa are now apparently a tag team. This was sort of hinted at by WWE on social media, and they've been associated obviously on numerous occasions on screen, mainly with Ciampa just attacking people involved with The Miz. This happened following The Miz versus AJ Styles. Ciampa attacked Styles after the match. Styles fought back, but then The Miz caught Styles with a skull-crushing finale, and then there was a little moment between the two whilst Corey Graves called Miz the leading man and Ciampa his supporting cast. What do you make of this pairing?
I I think they've kind of struggled for something for Tommaso Ciampa to do since he arrived. I remember his first main roster segment properly becoming a full-time member of the roster. He'd obviously appeared before then. Was that backstage segment with Ezekiel and Kevin Owens where he was just like, hey, I'm a random babyface guy in this segment for reasons. Since then, he's had a bunch of run-ins and stuff, attacking like Mustafa Ali and people like that. He's rubbed shoulders with Miz, as you've said. So I'm glad to see him get what looks like a concrete role finally on the main roster. Him and Miz are very different characters.
Yes.
So we'll see how they mesh. Maybe they'll do a kind of opposites attract. Maybe they'll bounce off each other quite well.
Yeah, it's going to be also interesting to see how Ciampa factors into this whole Logan Paul storyline as they head towards SummerSlam, of course. And yeah, I felt like Ciampa when he first arrived was a shoo-in for the Judgment Day, and I thought what they were doing with him was going to be part of that, of him being like, I've just arrived on the main roster, no one's paying me any goddamn attention except Finn Balor and Damian Priest and that lot. But
do you reckon if Finn Balor's new attire? Very nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
I did enjoy the Latino Heat influence though on last night's match. That popped me huge.
Scamp that Rey Mysterio, isn't he?
But yeah, I mean, it's weird again. It's a bit like when they had Daniel Bryan. They were like, you can learn from the Miz.
Yeah.
Not necessary. Really not necessary. In fact, if anything, it should be the other way around. But yeah, exactly. You put someone with the Miz, and hopefully they get a bit more spotlight. So I'm happy for Ciampa when it comes to that.
100%. Anyway, next story. Big E, right?
Yes.
Injury update. Man, I love and hate reading these updates from Big E because it's good to see that he's in good spirits, obviously, and but it just reminds me that I'm not going to see him on my TV screen for a while. That obviously sucks, but obviously health first. That's what the man's doing. He's tweeted the following. I'll just read it out to you, saying, "Update: my C1 vertebrae isn't ossifying." Brackets forming bone quite yet. The current plan is to get more scans at the 1 year mark and see how it's progressing. The great news is I feel tremendous and surgery is off the table. So that means that from the injury occurring in March, he's going to be out for at least a full year. But surgery not being necessary is obviously good. Now, in March, he took that suplex, wrestling on SmackDown, total accident, fractured his C1. What was the other vertebrae that he fractured? C6? That's right, C6. The C1 is particularly dangerous. It can result in paralysis or worse. So the thing with the Big E situation is that we're lucky that he's recovering in this way, right? He wasn't paralyzed or anything like that. It could have gone worse. Still obviously a terrible situation. It's just, man, every time I think of the situation, it just sucks so much. So like, I'm glad he's doing better, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's just such a nice, likable, lovable dude, and he's so good at what he does. It just sucks to see this thing pan out for him. But obviously, the most important thing is that he is up on his feet. Best wishes to him, nothing but support. Hope he makes a complete recovery. Yeah,
arguably our favourite wrestler here at WhatCulture, Big E. We've had obviously interactions with him in the past, and he couldn't have been a nicer bloke. And yeah, he just really did not. Anyone deserves this, but he didn't deserve this, especially then. It really felt like something was potentially happening with him. Obviously, we had the world title, and then all the bollocks that went with that, with them taking it off him. But still, it felt like it was, becoming the moment where they recognise the talent they've got, and then this complete accident injures him, of course. And like you say, it's one of those things where you read it and you think, oh God, he's out for, another over 6 months, obviously, at least until March next year for the scan. But his unerring positivity makes you think, oh, there's a chance here. Like when he threw the neck brace in the bin a while back.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, he's going to be back for SummerSlam. That's obviously not the case. And, as much as I want to see him back wrestling tonight on the Great American Bash on NXT 2.0, for example, he should only come back when he is fully healed, when he's ready. All of our thoughts and prayers and wishes go to him because we want him to get well soon. But we also, as Andy just to reiterate says, we do not want him to rush himself back any sooner than he absolutely necessarily needs to be. And in my weird advanced booking head, I'm like, maybe in the DDP side of my head, I'm like, this isn't a bad thing. This is a good thing. Because then you've got a clear path now for a Cody Rhodes return at the Royal Rumble. He wins that, goes on to win the world title at WrestleMania. And then, you've done that storyline. What have you got after WrestleMania? The return of Big E. We have not said that when he's going to be back is after WrestleMania, of course, but we are keeping everything crossed for Big E and his recovery, and we'll keep posted any and every time he tweets about something, talks about something on social media, or responds to me badgering him on text message. He never should have given me his number. I know it was for the
Really
interview,
bad
but I've
decision.
been abusing that power far too much, Andy. Finally, let's look at a potential collaboration between AEW and WWE. Could this be on the cards, Andy?
No, absolutely
No, obviously not. But Tony Khan's open to it. Basically, he was asked on a recent appearance on the Masked Man show for The Ringer, which is one of the best shows out there that isn't this show.
Good, yes.
Right? And he said...
It is a podcast.
Yes, such a prospect wasn't crazy, he said. A crossover, a joint AEW x WWE live pay-per-view premium live event. That's what I was looking for
per
there.
event.
I mean, it's not going to happen,
Yes.
but I mean, both companies have been open to stuff, which is, you know, the closest we've been ever. Obviously, AEW have done stuff with bloody everyone.
Yeah.
Impact, Ring of Honor, obviously.
AAA.
AEW, that's the company I'm talking about, Adam.
Gato move.
New Japan. But then WWE have occasionally said, look, there are other wrestling companies.
Yeah.
Mickie James showed up wearing the Impact Women's World title, of course, at the Royal Rumble. So it could happen. It's not, but Tony Khan is open to it.
He's open to it,
Which
yeah.
of course he is.
I mean, WWE, since Vince McMahon Jr. came to power 40 years ago or whatever, has a long history of anti-competitive practices. Goes back to the territories, the aggressive expansion, the running territorial promotions out of business.
Not allowing it to win anything during the invasion.
Yeah, runs all the way through the invasion and all of that. Comes to the modern day with how they handled the British indie scene and as various anti-competitive practice levied against AEW as well. It goes into their plans to expand performance centers into different countries, which to me was quite transparent in what they were trying to do. It wasn't trying to cultivate global talent. 40 years of pro wrestling history tells us that it's not a benevolent company that plays well with others. So yes, absolutely. I'm sure Tony Khan is open to working with a wrestling promotion that is something like 15 times bigger than his by a lot of different metrics. And he's not going to come on these shows and go, hell no, that sucks ass or whatever. But I think I will regrow a full head of hair before it happens. So I think it's very intoxicating to think of potential dream matches. And yes, WWE have had Mickie James and they had the AEW people on Raw last week, but don't build your hopes up, guys.
I always love it when, as much as I despise, like you say, WWE just not being open to working with any bloody company when it was right there. I always love it when they bring someone back or they bring someone in who've been in like Impact or wherever. And they go, well, they were here 8 years ago and then they disappeared for 8 years and got jacked. Well, they didn't wrestle. Don't check out what they did before this. All that matters is they're back now.
Was it Cody Graves shortly after Cody came back was going, he's got 6 years of ring rust. It's like, what are you on about, you dafty? Like,
Anyway, let's
what a
move.
numpty.
Yeah, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Can't see the mic knocking about today, but don't worry, we'll work it
No
out.
problem there.
First question today comes from Jonathan Johnson, who says, what do you think Paul Heyman's response will be to Theory's Money in the Bank briefcase win?
Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think he'll go too in on it. I think that they're going to keep Theory preoccupied with Bob Lashley for a while, obviously. I think you'll just get a little quip here or there, and then Roman will say something imposing and look really cool.
Oh, yeah, he's back on SmackDown this week, isn't he?
Back on SmackDown this week.
Oh, we the ones.
Very cool human being, Roman Reigns.
I think Paul Heyman's going to bully Postman Pierce because he was the one who put him in the match, despite the fact it clearly came from the
That's
higher ups.
not a bad shout. Well, maybe Roman Reigns will give him a Superman punch.
And he gets slapped last week, Postman
He's
Pierce as
getting
well.
battered around the bush. Remember that time they said Roman Reigns is going to face Postman Pierce on the Royal Rumble?
Forgot about that, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Maybe they'll do that again. Who
Do
knows?
it again.
There you
Do
go.
it again, I dare you.
Postman Pierce is really
Looking quite fierce.
Yeah,
Yes.
there we go.
There we got over the line.
What else rhymes with Pierce? Let us know in the comment section below. Wears? Gears? Gears? Richard Gears?
Kevin Spears.
God.
Does that work? Because that's who's giving us the next question.
Okay, sure.
That counts.
Is his
Hey
name Kevin
guys.
Spears?
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Hey guys, given how many years Paige has been with WWE doing bugger all, maybe this Paige leaving is a work. Imagine
Oh, no.
the pop in Wales if her music hit. Right, two things here I feel like you need to clarify. You're going to do the second one, actually. First one, the reason she was doing, quote, bugger all, is because her neck didn't work. She's an incredibly injured wrestler who could not be medically cleared to perform.
I think Kevin's working us a little bit
Granted.
here.
But the other part, Andy, why might she not show up at Clash at the Castle?
She's already announced some appearances outside of WWE, so I think you're winding us up here, Kev. Fair play. But no, I don't think it's a work. I think it's very compelling to look at everything in wrestling and go, it's a work!
The fact that even I went, I'm not buying this as a work, that tells you all you need to know.
What we should do, we should mock up a little graphic of Admiral Akbar going, it's a work! Every time something like this happens. Why not? I don't think she will. I also think that Paige really wants to wrestle again.
Yes.
And I wonder if she's maybe pursuing those kind of opportunities elsewhere. Doctors, stuff, obviously we're not,
it's the Bryan Daniels thing all over again,
Yes.
potentially.
If
yeah, absolutely.
doctors say it's okay, then, who are we to disagree? But we'll see what pans out.
Best of luck to her. But yeah, for once, Kev, I'm going to say it's not a work. Marky Louis G gives us our final question of the day, saying, hey guys, with Theory winning Money in the Bank and him being Vince's, do you guys think they're going to turn Roman face by having Vince screw him and that Theory will win the title?
I don't think that Theory's over enough for any of this.
No.
Anytime he comes out on the shows, the crowd reactions aren't quite there to the level WWE would like them to be.
No, he does it A-Town.
A-Town down, yes. Talking about Aberdeen, of course. Our esteemed colleague Michael Hamflett's got this dead on. It's the Drew, or is it Sidgwick? It's one of the Michaels.
Yeah.
It's the Drew McIntyre Chosen One push all over again. It's not landing to the level they want it to, I think. And while I know, it's really good, don't get me wrong, that WWE at Money in the Bank went, hey, these two are in their 20s, let's elevate them up a bit, because they needed to do that for a while. But every time I see Theory on television, I am not convinced that this guy's the future of wrestling. Maybe I will be in a couple of years, but as of right now, listening to that blandest piss promo last night on Raw, which tasted like unbuttered toast, so far, I'm not on this bandwagon, and I don't think that it would resonate to the level they want if they have Roman Reigns turn face on a guy like Theory, who, to me, personally, you can disagree, we're allowed to like different things, we all see things differently, is not over anywhere near to the required level.
No, I think he's got the potential, but I don't
think he does.
I think he's got, there's something there for me, but I think anyone else in that Money in the Bank ladder match could have won that briefcase, and I would have had more confidence in them winning over a Roman or a Brock. I don't think it's going to happen at SummerSlam anyway, but I'd have more confidence in them taking the title off whoever the world champ was than Theory right now. They've got a year, but it goes real fast.
Yeah. I mean, in situations like this, when I have an opinion that's maybe a little bit more down than the general consensus, love to be proved wrong. For me, right now, I'm not seeing much beyond mid-carder in the dude.
I also think that...
I'm not saying he's terrible, but...
I also think that he might lose the briefcase.
To Bob.
To someone.
Give it to Lashley, he's like the coolest guy on Raw. Why not?
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Why
But
not?
I would not be surprised if he loses the briefcase rather than failing to cash in or successfully cashing in. Let's move on to today's ad finally, and thank you to everyone who's been sending this to us regarding the LTST of WWE, specifically that amazing match coming our way at SummerSlam.
With McAfee.
Between Happy Corbin and, yes, Pat McAfee, who are both, I believe, looking at those colours, I haven't double checked this, but I know one of them definitely was.
Spurs?
2009, that was the Indianapolis Colts, my team, go Colts. LTST, 13 years in the making. I'm so happy Pat McAfee's getting back in the ring. And the fact he wore a neck brace the entirety of the UFC to sell something that happened, of course, at Money in the Bank.
Continuity, very nice. Yeah, these two would never make the Baltimore Bastards, so why do I care? I don't think they'd even make the San Francisco 69ers. Or,
There's gonna be comments.
The Louisiana Lizards.
Oh, the Arizona Alligators.
The Florida Flatfucks.
There you go.
I'm not going to swear today.
Look at that.
Fucks. Flatties.
Does that count? Nah. They can't spell. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and one of the Dudley Boys reviewing Monday Night Raw and looking ahead to the Great American Bash later on today, of course. Please let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there. Follow both of us. Follow Andy Murray at...
Follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for... turnips.
The H also stands for, hey, has anyone seen the mic? Also, follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. And we I'll see you soon.
Mike is dead.